The mission project for August is the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army supports many people in a variety of ways. Their mission is to provide facilities for public worship, to reach out and service those who have spiritual and material needs, and preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. A grocery cart is in the lobby for New Hope Ministries. Donations of food items, snacks for children, personal care items, especially feminine hygiene. An urgent need for summer months is ketchup and mustard mayonnaise. Bible study on the Book of Revelations is Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. at the Pavilion. Please contact Pastor Mindy if you are interested in participating. A class for people wanting to join Emmanuel Church is being offered. This class will start August 8th at 9:30 a.m., led by Pastor Mindy, and will last 4 weeks. Please email Pastor Mindy if you would like to be part of this class. A new ministry called East Pennsboro Community Closet, based at Enola Emmanuel United Methodist Church, has been created to provide free clothing for all sizes to those in need. More information on donating clothing is forthcoming. The community closet will open Sunday, September 19th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. All are welcome to choose clothing for the family. Hold on to your good junk just a little longer for the fall indoor yard sale. We will announce when you can bring those treasures to the church. Yard sale dates are November 5th and 6th.
Good morning and welcome to Emmanuel Online. I'm Mindy Goknauer, the pastor here, and I'm so glad that you have decided to worship with us today. If you are new to Emmanuel, we would love to connect with you. So if you go to our church website at www.eeumc.org, you will find a Contact Us tab at the top, and if you fill out your personal information, I will be in touch with you. I'd like to thank you for your continued faithfulness in the giving of your tithes and offerings. I invite you this morning to give as you feel led to do so. And you can do that online at our church website, by mail, or by dropping it off at our church office throughout the week. Would you join me now for a word of prayer? Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for another day. For another day where we get to come and to worship you together. And God, as we come today, we remember those around the world who are suffering. God, we especially lift up today the people of Afghanistan. God, we ask that your peace, that your grace, that your healing would come upon the people of Afghanistan. God, may you surround the people with your protection. God, we do not take lightly the privilege that we have to worship you. So we come today acknowledging that it is a privilege. And so, God, may you find our worship honoring and pleasing to you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Welcome to Call to Worship. We are called to love the Lord our God. We are called to love with all our heart and soul. We are called to love the Lord our God. We are called to love with all our mind and strength. We are called to love the Lord our God, and we are called to love our neighbor as ourselves. Come, let us love our God and share God's love in this time of worship.
An interest in the
This is our second to last week in our sermon series called Somewhere Outside the Mark. We've been looking at different stories in the Gospels to see where people have missed the point of Jesus' teachings. We have been seeking together to be more faithful followers of Jesus and to not be outside the mark. We began by talking about the disciples being caught in a storm while Jesus slept in the boat. The disciples missed the mark when they chose fear over trusting Jesus. We too miss the mark when we forget to trust Jesus and when we also forget that we are never alone. The second week we talked about the 4 friends who did whatever it took to get their paralyzed friend in front of Jesus to be healed. The teachers missed the mark when they were so distracted by who had authority that they couldn't accept that Jesus had the authority to forgive sins. From this, we learned the importance of doing whatever it takes to help others encounter Jesus, and that we miss the mark when we care more about the rules than about people. The third week we talked about Jesus at a dinner party and how the honorable miss the mark when they try to lift themselves up above everyone else. We talked about the importance of living a humble life and lifting others up. Then we talked about Mary and Martha. Martha missed the mark when she was so distracted by her work that she forgot to be present with Jesus. From this, we learned that we need to take bold steps to be present with Christ and to not get distracted by everything around us. Last week, we focused on the adulterous woman and how the crowd missed the mark when they were quicker to condemn than to extend grace and forgiveness. We miss the mark when we forget to examine our own lives and consider others to be greater sinners than ourselves. Today, we're looking at the story of the Good Samaritan and how the religious experts were somewhere outside the mark. The Good Samaritan. If you've been coming to church or attended Vacation Bible School for a while, you've probably heard the story of the Good Samaritan. And even in its familiarity, there is something for us to learn. An expert in religious law or a lawyer comes to Jesus asking some questions. This passage from Luke tells us that he comes to test Jesus. And this lawyer, I think, asks the question, who is my neighbor? So that he had a list of people he knew he was supposed to love. Jesus, just tell me the list and I can go about my life. That sounds easier, right? I've told you many times before, I love a good list. And if I just had a checklist of all that God asked of me, that would be great. I could love these 10 people this week and consider myself right with God. But Jesus rarely tells us what we want to hear, and instead tells us what it takes to follow after him and how to be in better relationship with God. Because we miss the mark when we are more concerned about checking off our religious duties than about being like Jesus. It's an easy trap to fall into. If I go to church, give my offering, and think kind thoughts, then I'm good to go. But that isn't what following Jesus is about. It's not about checking off a list or getting all of the rules just right. Following Jesus is a way of life. It's about building a relationship with the living God that changes our lives. I think that the lawyer asks a question that if we are honest with ourselves, we want the answer to as well. Who is my neighbor? Or as I hear it, who do I really have to love? We want names. We want groups of people. We want to know the limits. That we miss the mark when we put limits on who we are willing to love. Because Jesus doesn't put limits on who he loved. And we should follow his example. We tend to be quicker to love our neighbors when they look like us, act like us, and live up to our expectations. But we're not as quick to love when loving others requires us to step outside of our comfort zones. Generally, we don't like to be uncomfortable. We like the safety of our bubbles, the bubbles that we've created, and we don't like being told that we need to go beyond them. But Jesus tells us that loving our neighbors goes beyond what is comfortable. In fact, Jesus goes on here to say in this Luke passage, he tells a story that would have made any Jewish hearer of it uncomfortable. The Jewish people despised the Samaritan people as they were not fully Jewish. The Samaritan man, then, is the one who acts like a neighbor. What? That can't be right. The priest and the Levite, the temple servant, should have acted as neighbors, but they chose rules over people. Amanda Brobst-Renard says this about the Good Samaritan parable. Though they are clearly not the protagonists of this story, the priests and the Levite tell a truth that is important to hear. They had the Torah. They knew the calls to care for those in trouble. They had their own go and do likewise, but for whatever reason, passed by the man. Perhaps the shock of the narrative is the unlikely protagonist. This shock ought not overshadow that the priest and the Levite, who likewise have a call to care for others, passed by. We miss the mark like the religious experts when we pass by those whom we should have been a neighbor to. I had never seen homeless people living on the streets in large quantities until I lived in Washington, D.C. Honestly, I'm not sure that I had ever encountered a homeless person until then. One evening, I was going with a group of friends to dinner, and there was a homeless man standing outside of the metro. This man was asking for money. I was with a group of seminary students, all studying to serve the church in some capacity, and we all just walked on by. I can't speak for everyone in the group, but I know I felt uncomfortable. But instead of turning to go down the escalator to the metro, one of the girls in our group kept walking, and so we followed. Without ever saying a word, she went into the local CVS, purchased some food, came back out, and spent some time talking with the homeless man, and then gave him the bag of food. This experience humbled me. I should have been paying more attention. I should have been quicker to love than to judge. Here I was, a seminary student studying to be a pastor, and I walked right on by someone who was in need. Sometimes religious experts get it wrong. We miss the mark. We keep on walking when we should stop and extend care and concern for those in need. Religious experts tend to think they know everything that they are supposed to know about God, and we forget about being in relationship with God. And sometimes Christians get it wrong. We miss the mark. We get so caught up in our everyday lives that we forget that we are called to love the people that are around us. Why is it that we are hesitant to love all of God's people? I think the answer is fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of the outcome. Fear that comes from what we have been taught. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of rejection. Fear of judgment. We may not recognize it as fear, but I believe that's what it is. But what if we decided today that we were going to set aside our fear and we chose to love our neighbors? neighbors whose skin is different from ours, neighbors who immigrated from other countries, neighbors who love differently than we do, neighbors who are poor or homeless, neighbors who worship differently than we do. Being a neighbor doesn't mean we have to take on someone else's lifestyle or agree with all of their choices. Being a neighbor means we love people for who they are and we meet their needs as we are able, because Jesus loves them, and so should we. Jesus didn't just talk about loving people. He gives us first-hand examples of who our neighbors are and how we are to love them. Jesus ate dinner in the homes of tax collectors and notorious sinners. He healed when the law told him not to. He forgave sin, knelt to be with the adulterous woman, and spent time with lepers, the poor, and the very least of his society. Michael Rogers defines neighbor this way. Neighbor is not defined by location or group, but by those who need concern and care. That is who Jesus sought out. Those who were in need of concern and care. That is what we are called to do as well. Be like Jesus and go to those who are in need. Who in your life right now needs your concern and care? Take a moment right now and name them. Maybe it's a specific person. Maybe it's a people group. Whoever it is, go ahead and take a second and name them to yourself. Now, what excuses are you making for why you can't help them or love them? Name those right now. Unfortunately, we are quicker to make excuses than to love those who need our care and concern. We assume that someone else will step in and take care of the need. But as people who claim to faithfully follow Jesus, we should be quick, like the Samaritan, to love our neighbors and extend care and concern. But we don't always do that. We miss the mark and we allow our excuses to take over instead of loving our neighbors. And so, right here and now, I invite you to join me in a moment of repentance before the Lord. Let us pray. Lord, I am sorry for the list of reasons I've made for why I can't serve and love my neighbor. I have become more concerned with my own comfort than with loving you and your people. Forgive me for missing the mark. I commit to you here and now to love a little more like you. Amen. Loving God's people is something we have to get right. It's the foundation of who we are as God's people. Love God and love people are the greatest commands. So may we see others and love others as God sees and loves them. Let us not be somewhere outside the mark. Amen.
I stand amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene, and wonder how he and with the ransomed in glory, his face I at last shall see. 'Twill be my joy through the ages to sing of his love for me. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. May the grace of Christ our Savior and the love of God our Father and the fellowship of the Spirit be with us forever and ever.